Can a landlord use a P.O. box to have a tenant pay rent or deliver notices to? Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm the Landlord One on Tech Talk and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Now, I do get this question a lot, if P.O. boxes are okay to have a tenant send rent to and so forth, to deliver notices and so forth. The answer generally is yes. A landlord could use a P.O. box address and tell the tenant, to send mail and notices and so forth to the landlord to a P.O. box. There is a little minor exception in Code of Civil Code Section 1962. A landlord has the obligation to disclose an address where they can be, serve service or process. So a P.O. box technically wouldn't be, you'd have to disclose an address where you could be personally served documents. That would be my only exception to that rule. But a landlord can have a tenant deliver rent to a P.O. box. Okay. One thing, and I had this situation come up recently, was if you do state an address where rent cannot be personally delivered under the Code of Civil Procedure, Section 1161, Subdivision 2, for non-payment of rent purposes for paying rent, if a tenant can show that they proof of mailing, basically, of their rent based on receiving a 3-day notice to pay rent or vacating, if they have proof of payment that was made or postmarked within the 3 days, and the 3 days doesn't include weekends and holidays. Now, for purposes of non-payment of rent evictions, the tenant has delivered the rent within the 3-day period, despite the landlord getting the actual mailed payment within those 3 days. There's a conclusive presumption in the Code of Civil Procedure that basically encourages landlords to have a place where tenants can actually personally deliver rent to. Okay, so landlords need to be aware of that presumption. And I have to tell landlords that use P.O. boxes, hey, because that common question I get from landlords is, well, if the tenant mails it and it doesn't get here in the 3 days, right, that's on the tenant, right? And I have to tell them no, because you've offered them an address where personal delivery of that payment cannot be made to the landlord. And then I got some landlords that are like, well, Rob, the tenant can drop off the payment at the post office. No, that's technically not right. By postal regulations, the postal service is precluded from taking stuff over the counter and putting it in P.O. boxes. The actual item that you want to get sent to a P.O. box actually has to be mailed. You have to put postage on it, has to go through the system, that type of deal. So that's why the Code of Civil Procedure outlines that for addresses where personal delivery is not allowed, or the address doesn't allow for it, there's that presumption. So I tell my landlords, if your tenant brings a certificate of mailing or a postmark showing that they dumped the envelope in the mail to you within 3 days, you're kind of done. So my recommendation is, if you use a P.O. box, you wait a couple of days for the mail to come to your P.O. box before you file an eviction case for non-payment of rent, or get an address that allows for personal delivery. You can designate a business address. Even a private mailbox, like those UPS boxes, would probably be considered personal delivery addresses, because in those circumstances, many of those services, you can actually give the person at the counter something to put in the P.O. box, in the mailbox, basically. It's not P.O. box, and that's allowed. So if your private mailbox allows for me to drop something off to you and put it in your box, that probably would qualify as personal delivery. But there's really been no cases on it that I'm aware of. So bottom line is put an address where you're actually able to get the rent would be the solution. So landlords, if you're facing a non-payment of rent situation and you don't know how to know if you can evict a tenant for rent, or you need help getting someone out for not paying the rent, and you're in the Northern California area, feel free to reach out. You can hit my profile down below. It will go to our have a link for our website. You can book a free case review on our website and see if we can help you out. There's a couple of questions on the website that will be asked to see if we're a good fit. So go there. Put your comments and questions down below. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Until next time, folks, I'll talk to you then. Thanks.